I try not to kill the babysitter. The next day, my mother hires Amy to keep me company, which is really just another way to say babysit. I overheard my parents talking in their room last night, and I was supposed to be asleep. You don't need to be a brain surgeon to string the words impulse control and discipline into a story no kid wants to read. When they're done, my father tapes Miss Williams's summer reading list onto the refrigerator. They tell me learning camp is all set, but I tell them the best place for me to spend the rest of the summer is leaning against a large palm tree in a backyard with a stack of comic books and Bodie. It's a discussion I don't have a chance of winning. I feel like I'm trapped in prison in July, a horror movie I just made up. When Amy first started babysitting, she used to make my lunches. Now she twirls her hair and points to the cupboard for me to make my own peanut butter and banana sandwich. I can, of course. I just preferred it when I looked for funny videos online and she made lunch. I cut the sandwich on the diagonal and put the pieces on a plate to prove I don't need her help to make a nice meal. I killed one of my first babysitters, I say, so I wouldn't try anything if I were you. I'm really scared, she says, and tears off a corner of my sandwich without asking. Seriously, babysitting for me can be lethal. I feel I should warn you. For $10 an hour, I'll take my chances, Amy says. I think about offering her $12 an hour to go home, but I'm pretty cheap when it comes to spending my own money on boring stuff like babysitters. Mom told me about that girl who drowned. I don't expect that kind of service from me. For once, I can't think of a snappy comeback, choosing instead to concentrate on my lunch. Amy leans back in her chair. I don't know how anyone who I don't know anyone who died. My second grade teacher's husband got killed in a car accident, but I never met him. I didn't really know Susan either. I say I don't tell her that last night in bed I imagined that I drowned with Susan. The thought kept me awake until Bodie made his dreaming noises and stopped me from doing any more thinking. I gave Amy the rest of my sandwich and started making another. Just then Matt bursts into the kitchen. They're delivering bricks for our new patio, he says. There's a huge eight-wheeler in the driveway. Let's take my own action figures and put them in front of the tires, so when the guy drives away, he'll squash them like grapes. Matt doesn't have to ask twice. Timmy, I'll be at Matt's, but she barely hears me because she's back on her phone. As Matt and I line up his old toys in front of the giant tires, I find a small plastic raccoon. I used to have this small action figure, a present in some meal package from a fast food restaurant. Although he's made of plastic, his kind eyes remind me of Bodie's. I don't have the heart to squish him. I've put the raccoon back in Matt's toy bin and take out some happy elves instead. Matt and I are ecstatic when the driver pulls away. He even blasts his horn several times, but the toys are not as flattened as we'd hoped. So we head to the garage to see what else we can use. We find a bag of stones and Tanya's old rock polisher that looks like a cement mixer. We lock the elves inside, then make noises like they're screaming to get out. Surprisingly, it's not as much fun as I thought. I realize Matt is having a blast and I'm the problem. Learning camp starts Monday and it weighs on me. Suppose I'm the worst student there. I have to work so hard to keep up during the school year, so do I have to fake my way through all summer too? The thought of one more person cracking the whip about learning makes me want to jump into the cement mixer with these crazy elves. I tell Matt I have to go and spend the rest of the afternoon lying in my backyard staring up at the clouds, Bodie by my side. My father tries to help. Dad sits me down at the kitchen table to organize the next day. I'll drop you at camp at 9, he says. 9? That means I have to get up in the 8s? Actually, you have to get up in the 7s. It's half an hour away. Learning camp is one thing, but an hour a day in the car with one of my parents trying to tell me how hard I have to work to be successful is another thing altogether. I realize I have to quickly locate my MP3 player and headphones. Bodie barely opens his eyes when I toss him the bone from last night's dinner, so I yell upstairs and ask my mother to take a look at him. She comes down wearing her headset and holding her cell. I'm not sure if it's because she's a doctor, but she's convinced cell phones can give you brain cancer, so she's always using a headset. Mom hangs up with her friend. and looks into Bodhi's eyes. She feels his throat, then his belly. Is he okay? I ask twice before she answers. Bodhi's 13 now. That's old for a dog. I pray she doesn't use this as an example of how math comes in handy in real life, but my father beats her to the punch. I hate how parents think they have to use everything that happens as some kind of lesson. 7 dog years equals 1 human year, right? So 7 times 13 equals. He waits for my answer like an FBI agent interrogating a spy. Thankfully, mother saves me the embarrassment of not knowing the answer. Actually, 7 to 1 is the old rule, Mom says. Weight and breed are factors too. It's more like he's 80. I'm grateful to be off the hook, but then she spoils the moment. See how important math is? They both look at me with such desperate smiles I want to smash my head into the tile counter. I just care about Bodhi, I say, not about stupid math. My mom thinks he's okay, but she'll give him a full workup in the morning. I obviously can't go to camp, I say. I need to be here when you run tests. Believe it or not, I know what I'm doing, she says. Bodhi will be fine until you get home. I try variations on this plan with no success. But maybe Bodhi just needed a rest because when it's time for me to go to bed, he follows me upstairs with no problem. The next morning when I wake up, my mother is sitting on the bed petting Bodhi. Is he okay? Because I can definitely stay home from camp. He's fine, she says. She reaches into the pocket of her robe and hands me a banana and a protein bar. I ignore my mother's protests and feed half of the banana to Bodhi. As soon as he gets in the car, my father takes my headphones. We've got some quality time ahead of us, he says. I thought we could discuss one of the books you're reading. I try to guess our speeds so I can figure out the best time to hurl myself out of the car. I imagine myself tumbling along the side of the road, then eating berries and roots in the woods for the rest of the summer. Derek, what did you say? I bang my head repeatedly against the side window when Dad tells me to stop. I open the window, stick my head out, then press the button so the glass squishes my head on its way back up. Derek, by the time I let down the window, he's turned on the radio. He's shaking his head, probably thinking about how he's failing as a father. I'm just glad I can sit here on my way to summer prison in peace.